Welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. My name is Gordy, hello, and I was just wondering, why do I, as an Anglophone, read from left to right? Why not right to left or top to bottom? Was it always like this, or did someone, somewhere, just pick a side? Please like and subscribe if you haven't so you can keep up every single day. I do this every single day. Why do we read from left to right? English speakers. It's a habit so deeply ingrained that we rarely stop to think about it. But directionality in writing, as you probably know, is not universal. And the reasons we read this way do come down to tools, technology, and the quirks of ancient scribes. The earliest known writing systems, like Sumerian cuneiform, didn't always have a single fixed direction. Sumerian was usually written in horizontal rows, left to right, but other ancient scripts, like early Greek, sometimes use what's called boustrophedon, a boustrophedon style. And that's where the direction reverses with each line, like the way an ox plows a field. Because, fun little etymology fact here, the word boustrophedon comes from ancient Greek, meaning as the ox turns. One line goes to the left and then to the right, and then to the left, and then to the right, and so on. But eventually, more consistent directions took hold, so why did most Western writing systems settle on left to right? A big part of the answer is the right hand. The majority of people, then and now, are right-handed, and when you're using a stylus, brush, or pen on a surface, it's a lot easier to write from left to right with your dominant hand. That way your hand pulls across the page rather than pushing, and you avoid smudging the ink as you go. This was especially important in ancient Greece, where writing with ink on papyrus became common. Greek eventually adopted left-to-right writing as a standard, and since then, Romans borrowed heavily from the Greeks linguistically and culturally, and they inherited this orientation as well. As the Latin alphabet spread across Europe and into the Americas, so did the left-to-right standard. It became deeply embedded in printing, typesetting, and education, and by the time the printing press arrived in the 15th century, left to right was the established norm for many Western languages. But what about scripts that go right to left, like Arabic or Hebrew? Here again, tools mattered. Ancient Semitic scribes often used a chisel and a hammer on stone or styluses on clay tablets. For a right-handed person, carving from right to left is more natural and efficient. You can see what you've written and the chisel hand stays clear of the work. That's assuming, of course, that the chisel is in the left hand and the hammer is in the right, in case you haven't chiseled recently, like me. So I thought my natural tendency was the opposite, like me playing pool or shooting a gun. I am American, but I want to hit the hammer with my left and really control it with my right. But I guess you're supposed to hold the chisel with your left and hammer with your dominant hand, right? Okay, that makes sense. Arabic and Hebrew developed as scripts written with ink and reed pens on parchment. These tools favored right to left motion, pulling the pen away from the hand, not into it. When writing with thick ink on delicate materials, it was easier for right-handed scribes to write from right to left to prevent smearing. There's also a cultural momentum factor. Once a script settles into a direction, it tends to stay there unless there's a very strong reason to change. That's why today English, French, Spanish, and many other Western languages use left to right scripts, while Arabic, Persian, Urdu, and Hebrew remain right to left. It gets more complicated when you look at modern languages that blend systems. Japanese, for example, can be written vertically from top to bottom or horizontally from left to right. Manga, for instance, is read right to left because of traditional layout and cultural style, but school textbooks might go the opposite way. And what about China, you may ask? What about China? Traditional Chinese was often written vertically from top to bottom with columns ordered from right to left, but in the 20th century, left to right horizontal writing became more common, especially in mainland China, thanks in part to Western influence and printing technology. In Taiwan and Hong Kong, traditional vertical columns are still common, especially in classical literature or calligraphy. So the way we read isn't purely dictated by deep brain wiring or visual logic. It's shaped by hand dominance, tool use, and historical momentum, but those in turn reflect how our brains are built. So it is kind of related, I got to do a handedness episode in the future because that is very interesting. Why are so many people right-handed? What's the reason for that? And there's some cool theories, and you might know them, but I got to do an episode on that. But there you have it. We read left to right because thousands of years ago, some right-handed scribes found it easier not to smudge their ink, essentially, and the rest is just historical inertia. Thanks to all my sources, which can be found in the YouTube description. Please give me a rate, like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment. Yahoo! Are you bilingual? Can you read and write a language that goes opposite directions, like one that goes left to right, one that goes right to left? Is that odd? Is that hard to untrain yourself? Let me know. That'd be really interesting in the comments. Go check out my 1-minute version at Smartest Year Ever on social media platforms. You can find that across all the social media platforms. And in the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. I will see you tomorrow in the smartest year ever.